News dropped this morning that the WGA has reached a tentative deal with the studios in Hollywood to end the strikes. And I say this is a tentative deal because things aren't quite finalized just yet. But I mean, by all accounts, it looks like the strike is going to be over after everything is all said and done. Right now, I have this article pulled up from the Hollywood Reporter talking about it. Writers Guild reached tentative agreement with studios and streamers in a significant development that could bring an end to the historic writer strike. The union and the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television Producers announced provisional deal on Sunday. After several long consecutive days of negotiation, the Writers Guild of America and labor group representing studios and streamers have reached a tentative deal on new contract in major development that could precipitate the end of a historic 146-day writer strike. The Writers Guild of America emailed strike captains the news on Sunday night, and shortly after, its negotiating committee informed all members, "We have reached a tentative agreement on a new 2023 MBA, which is to say an agreement in principle on all deal points and subject to drafting final contract language." So that's basically what this is you get the people from representing both parties negotiating and figuring out what they're going to actually do. And this is a time where they agreed on all the points. And now it's basically just putting all the language that they agreed upon within the final contract. And then once members of the union all vote on it and agree, I don't think it has to be unanimous. I think it's something like a supermajority of the members that this is affecting have to agree on it. But once that happens, they can all go back to work again. And people are speculating that probably early October is when things can kind of get going. So that's about like later this week or next week is when things are basically going to end, assuming that the members agree on it. Now, the question is whether the members will actually agree on it. I personally think they will because, as I've talked about in other videos, that it was looking like the union was about ready to kind of break. I mean, you've got people like Drew Barrymore and Bill Maher who were talking about breaking ranks, and they were just kind of barely held together because of the union. And I was thinking a lot, that was kind of a sentiment that was being felt amongst a lot of the people that were on strike. Cause I mean, they've gone 5 months without working. So, I mean, people have a lot of savings, but I mean, there's only so much you can do. And a lot of them are having trouble paying their rent and stuff like that. And this is also a sentiment that we heard from the studios in the past where they're saying, well, once they have trouble paying their bills or they start losing their homes, then they're going to be more willing to negotiate. And right now, I think that's what's kind of happening is they're willing to just jump at whatever offer they get, because according to some rumors going out, I mean, we don't have the actual terms of the contract, so we don't know for sure what's the new deal is. But according to rumors that are out there, that a lot of the terms in this new contract is basically what we saw being proposed to them a couple months ago. Now, if the studios are proposing a deal a couple months ago and they reject it, then all of a sudden the guild comes back and say, yeah, we'll accept those terms. That's probably not good news on their part. I mean, it looks like they're settling, and I've actually said in the past, this is how I think it's ultimately going to happen, is the studios have more of an opportunity to weather the storm than the union members. And I actually have another article I'll talk about in a moment, talking about why I think the studios wanted this strike to happen. And they weren't necessarily in a rush to get things back going, unlike the union members who are the ones actually suffering from this. So I was saying what was going to happen is the studio was going to dig in their heels. And then once they're willing to at least get things started again, they're going to give them their deal or whatever they're going to give them. Then the guild is probably going to accept it, because the union isn't going to want to tell their members, we failed you, this is the best that we can get. They're going to try to paint everything as like a victory for them. Otherwise, the union members would be like, well, what are we paying you for if you can't even represent us properly? So they're going to try to come back with this and just like do some tweaking of the deal that they got a couple months ago, and just so in order for the union representatives to kind of save face and make it look like that they were actually doing something to almost like justify their existence, and then they try to sell that to their union members. And by that time, the union members are just so tired of all this, they're going to be like, fine, we'll do anything, just let us get back to work. And it's looking like that's kind of what's been going on with this. But I mean, until we actually have the final terms of the agreement, we don't know. But the reason I think the studios wanted this is because, I mean, yeah, things coming back is going to help them. But going into this article from Deadline talking about the stock market's reaction to this going on, I mean, it says it's kind of gone up and down. I mean, it really hasn't been affected by this too much. I mean, the stock market is for these studios is kind of down in general, just because of the fact that the economy is doing so badly now. I mean, it's not really the best time for it to happen, but checking out this paragraph. As it pertained to big media groups, Wall Street has been mixed on the dual strikes by actors and writers. Shuttered productions led to significantly lower costs at companies in dire need of cash to pay down debt given ongoing losses in streaming. CEOs have had 2 sets of earnings calls with little pushback from investors last spring and a bit more concern in August with the fall television season upended and movie releases dates starting to shift. Warner Brothers Discovery said in August it anticipates a hit to earnings of up to $500 million from the strike, accompanied by a wave of free cash flow. So that's why I maintain, because things have been going so bad with the movie studios all together, and the economy's been hurting the studios and hurting the productions. I mean, we've been seeing box office bombs this whole summer, besides a few exceptions of this. But the studios, I think that they really weren't eager to get things back going, or they didn't really care about getting things back going because they have a lot of debt. They've been having free cash flow or money saved by not producing movies while the strikes are going on. So then they can use that to pay down a lot of their debts and things like that. So when it does come time to actually get things back going, the studio, since they're not really eager, they're like, yeah, we'll just do it whenever we're ready. And that's why the deals that they proposed a couple months ago, it's kind of like, you want this deal? No. Okay, well, talk to me again in a couple months. I'll give you the same deal. Maybe they'll just like tweak some of the language in order to appease the people on the WGA to negotiate with them so they can save face in this. But ultimately, this is one of those things. The studios, I think, are the ones who are the victors in this matter. And the people that were actually striking, the so-called working class writers and stuff like that, I mean, they're the ones who suffered as a result of their unions forcing them to strike in this manner. And maybe I think this does feel more like a ceasefire, because I think a lot of the stuff that were issues in the contract, like the use of AI and stuff like that, I don't think they're really going to hammer out how that's going to be used in the future, because this is a new technology. It's here to stay. And I think in a couple of years, we're going to see the same thing happen again, where there's going to be like, I don't know, friction on how they're going to accomplish that or how they're going to deal with that in the future. But let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. If you like this video, make sure you click the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date with the latest news. Thank you.